I just installed a fully custom lightsaber. So this lightsaber was sent to me to get installed. It has a crystal chamber that is semi-exposed, a pretty cool chassis, and I got to leather wrap it, which is pretty fun. So I'm going to show you what I did to this lightsaber to bring it to life, and we're going to go over all the cool features it has. Alright, so this part of the video is going to be a bit of a mess because there's a lot to go over with this lightsaber, but I'm going to do the best I can to cover as many important and cool things as I possibly can about this lightsaber. To start, I guess I'm going to go over this thing. This was really cool. This, I guess, is a lightsaber holder thing from the custom saber shop, and I've never seen one before, but it's pretty neat, especially the text here. The custom saber shop, standard issue, parts bag, MHS built, customsabershop.com, but the fun part's on the back. Maybe this is the front, but as a warning, this bag contains precision machined saber parts and may inspire saber envy for anyone in your immediate vicinity. Highly advised to open in private while seated. I absolutely love that. That is hilarious and really cool. I want one for myself. But we're going to leave that up here and go over the hilt. So this is quite a long hilt, and it has an exposed crystal chamber right above the control box. Down at the bottom, you'll see some leather wrap. This is not the entirety of the leather wrap because I got sent a whole roll that probably could have gone all the way up here or however much it may be, but I had to cut it to size. It's been a couple years since I've had to leather wrap a lightsaber, so I had to review it a little bit. I initially tried to make it a V style because the customer was interested in potentially getting that to work, but I've never done that before, and every iteration I tried didn't look particularly good. And in order to do it, I needed to do a lot of things I've never done before and probably cut the strip in half because it's 1 inch width. I'd have to cut it down to 1/2 inch to make it look good, and especially in this space. So ultimately, we decided to go with a standard leather wrap, which came out beautifully, if I do say so myself. I'm very, very proud of this, and I would love to wrap more lightsabers because it was fun, comes out really cool, and it feels great. So that is the leather wrap. Other than that, I guess I'll go over the control box. So the control box is interesting. The original control box it used, it had magnets holding the control box in place, and it attached itself to the screws that attached the control box to the body, but that wasn't very secure, so he sent me a new one where the screws go from the top of the control box, this brass piece, all the way through to the body. I had to cut those screws to size so that they didn't interfere with the threading because this unthreads and the screw would hit it. So what I did was just cut them to size for both so that they could reach where they need to be. And this one is just long enough to hit the chassis so the chassis doesn't move much. Otherwise the chassis kind of free spins. So if you ever need to adjust the amount of hold this has, you'll need a longer screw because I cut it down because before it was way too long. So I cut it just to the right size where it sits flush here and then pushes against the chassis. But I don't know, since the chassis is plastic in that section, it might wear out. But this is a control box card from Sloth Furnace, and I don't know if you guys know, but Sloth Furnace arguably makes the best clamp cards in the business. So this is a Return of the Jedi replica. And it's really cool. I haven't seen one of these in person. It has a sort of blue tinge to it. So it has magnets attached to the bottom, and this is the only part that holds on with a magnet. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the control box buttons. So inside the control box, there's a panel that holds, or a PCB that holds 2 long buttons that stick out like a cone. And I might actually have an example of that in my box of parts here. Yeah, from the custom saber shop. I have a single one. It's quite long, but I'll show you. But there's 2 of them attached to a PCB and they stick out. These are little button caps that come separate. And the thing about these was they don't exactly fit perfectly in the control box, so I had to sand down a little shape underneath the control box button caps so that they fit. So I had to do that with both, so they are a little uneven with how they feel just because of the nature of how that works, so I had to sand it down. Sorry about that. That's the activation and that's the auxiliary. The auxiliary can act a little bit weird, but as long as you press right in the middle or at the top section, it works perfectly. This bottom half just doesn't work super well. This one works perfectly though. That's just the nature of, I guess, how this control box is set up, which is a little strange. But as I was saying, the buttons are these little caps, or these really long things, and then there's a cap that goes on top of it. I had to put a tiny dab of Loctite on it, so if they ever fall out, or if you ever need to adjust them, I'm sure you could just pop them off and then redo it, or send it my way, and then I can work on them some more. I think ultimately that is the my least favorite part of this entire build, was just the buttons, just because it's a little strange and it doesn't work perfectly or as solidly as I would like them to be, but I got them as good as I possibly can. So when you mess with them, turn it on, as you can see, works just fine. And this bottom arrow is programmed to flash every time there's not like an auxiliary action, so you can kind of tell when you're able to press it. Works perfectly fine, but it can feel a little weird compared to the other one, because this one's nice and crispy, this one can be a little gummy, so just keep that in mind. But other than that, let's go over the rest of the chassis, because that's where the fun really happens. So the bottom pommel, you can unscrew, just like that, and you can remove them. Now this bottom section, from what I understand, is made by, let's see, Force Ghost Sabers. So the design, the print, sort of has an aluminum paint to it that's worn off over time. So it also has this panel. You remove it. The only problem I had with this section was that it wasn't exactly made for Proffie. I think it was made for Crystal Focus. So if you guys don't know, Crystal Focus as a board is wider and a little thicker, and Proffie is thinner and on basically every level. So it's skinnier that way and skinnier from top down. So in order to make it work, I had to design and 3D print a little holder. So the black section is a 3D printed holder. I have a little bar going in between the USB port and the SD card, and then a little bracket on the other side. And then I used Loctite to glue it in place. So it worked perfectly, still fits underneath that soundboard cover. Gives a tiny bit of room for wires underneath, and yeah, works great. This is a kill key, so this is also a recharge port. If you remove this, you have access to the recharge port, and then you can put it in as a kill key and turn it. So if it's sideways like this, it will be off, and then if you turn it like that, depending on which half it's on, it'll turn it on or off. So it's the opposite one then. There you go. When it's in line, it'll turn on, and then anything else is going to be off. So you'll just have to play around with that to figure out which is which. And then this is a wired-in battery. This is a little cover for the wires, I guess, and a little access to the recharge port, which I found was very nice for the install. 28mm bass speaker. I think this is from, it's a WOW speaker. I forgot what WOW stood for, but I used these a long time ago because they were arguably the best. I don't know if they are these days, but it's probably comparable. I need to do a comparison between all the different speakers because that would be very interesting. But that's pretty much what this lightsaber looks like at the bottom half. This is a Proffie v3.9. The top half is also very interesting. So if we unscrew it, we can unscrew this entire top section. There we go. And now you can see the crystal chamber. This I enjoyed quite a lot. These are all individual pieces. And as you can see, you don't see any wires going from the top down because this is a thin neck PCB of sorts. It's a rotary PCB. This connects to the upper section where the NeoPixel connector is that attaches to the blade. So this top section is plastic, this is aluminum, this is plastic, and then these are all brass. And that is a real quartz crystal inside. I have two NeoPixel LEDs, one up top, one down below. I secured it all with E6000. It is super solid. The chassis itself can wobble a little bit just because it's all held in with these tiny little rods. Yeah, and again, about the screw in the back, you can make it a little longer in order to push into it, but that's gonna like wear into the plastic. So the retention method's a little weird sometimes, but overall it works great. Plus you're not gonna be swinging it with the lightsaber apart. So the other thing I want to mention about this section that I am pretty happy with was my method of hiding the wires. I happen to have brass tubes that look pretty much exactly like the ones used in here. So what I did was I used a brass rod that I had lying around. You can see it sort of behind the crystal right back there. I used that to connect the top to the bottom and ran my wires through that. So hopefully my customer here appreciates that, because I was really happy with it. Because now you don't have to see any wires, there's not weird heat shrink hiding it or exposed wires, it's literally just a brass tube going from top to bottom that I glued in place. So that's really cool, I'm very happy with it. And then I guess we'll go to the rest of the hilt. You can put this back on like that, and then just screw it back in. Sorry about that, that's gesture control. Right now it's not on max volume, because I don't like maximum volume, but I will put it to maximum volume when I send it out. Let's unscrew the top part and then I can show you the next section of the install. This part I had to redo because my customer sent it in already installed, but it turns out that the neck portion, the part sticking out here, wasn't quite long enough to make contact with that PCB on the inside. So he sent me another one that was longer, but it was still not quite long enough, but he sent me the STL file, so I edited it to add extra height to it. So now it's long enough to go in, but it's not a cool color, it's just black. It's black carbon fiber PLA. You can see the V4 pixel connector, and this thing is running blade detection. Any information that you need on it is going to be down in the description, how to customize the lightsaber along with how I wired it, so you can pretty much have an idea on how to edit it in the SD card and whatnot, the config file. Other than that, let's put this together and I'll show you the fonts. I'm using all fonts that were sent to me except for one of the non-working fonts for the blade detection, because the one he sent me, it was made for crystal focus. And then when I converted all the files over to Proffie, they didn't work very well. I'm not a whiz when it comes to font files and stuff, so I'm not entirely sure why it doesn't work great, but I'll show you. If I can... Crystalline Workshop. There we go. So he sent me Crystalline Workshop, which is made primarily for CFX, old versions of CFX, or not even CFX, just crystal focus boards. If you turn it on... Chassis disengaged. Crystal core exposed. It's supposed to have multiple ignition sounds, but for whatever reason it's only playing the one. Stability at 93.138%. And then when you turn it off... Core stability confirmed. Maintenance mode deactivated. Crystal core shielded. Goodbye. I'm pretty sure it just plays the one as well, but I'm not entirely sure. But the weird stuff comes in when you move it. Welcome. So now you can have multiple voice lines going at the same time. You see? So that's very weird. To complete repair, please install new or refabricate debalanced wave resistor. See? So even when I turn off the lightsaber, if the other sound files are still running, it's going to complete the sound file and not interrupt them at all. I'm not sure why it does that, but it's pretty weird. So what I did was I added Calibrate, which again is a converted font from Crystal Focus, but it works a little better, probably because there's no voice lines. So if we just ignite it. See, it works a lot better. So I went ahead and paid for that. So hopefully you enjoy that one, but there's both on there if you want, but Calibrate works a lot better for this. Other than that, let me put in a blade, or, you know what, I'm gonna put in a blade plug. No, I'm gonna put in the blade so you can see the blade styles and whatnot. There's not too many fonts on here. I'm gonna see if I can find them, so I can name them as I go through them. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that and show it off. Alright, so let's start by going over blade detection. I set this up, as you know, with 2 non-working fonts, and then the rest are the working fonts. How that works is when the lightsaber does not have a blade in, it just has those 2 non-working fonts. But as soon as you put a blade in, it plays a detection sound. And then you can do all of the working fonts, but none of the non-working fonts, unless you set it up that way. And then when you remove the blade, it'll play a disconnect sound, and then you can only do the non-working fonts that you set up. So every single font that I have set up can do the blade detection sound, the removal and insertion of the blade, because I put those 2 sound files, the blade in and blade out sound files, into the common folder. The common folder is a pretty cool folder. So let's put this in and I'll show it off. Make sure to push the blade all the way down when you put the blade in. Currently I'm using a single retention screw because I've just found that that is more secure than using more than one. And then I have no space on my desk here. I'll just go through the fonts and you can have a look. Sorry if it's a bit loud, the microphone is going to be directly next to the speaker. I believe that's Protostar. Yep. Maybe this one's Engine Grip. I don't exactly remember how I organized these, but I'll be listing off some. Maybe this one's Splinter. So we'll just say this one's Splinter.
Crispity.
This one's Crispity. That one's easy to know. I have no idea what that said, but I think it's Binary Dark. Ah, this one's easy. This one is the Chosen One Hero. I just have a basic blade setup.
Darth Vader.
This one's the Chosen One Villain. I think I have an unstable blade for this one. And then we're back to Protostar. These are very cool fonts to have on a custom lightsaber. So, hopefully you had a good look at that. What I'm going to do next is just show you the crystal chamber with the fonts, just so you can have a look at the cool colors. And then I think we're going to wrap it up, and that's going to be all you need to know about the lightsaber. And if there's anything else that you'll need to know that I forgot about, I'll either email it to you or put it in the description. I guess I could also have a section of this video going over the wiring, but it could be a bit boring. Might be better to just keep it in the description. I think I'll go over it anyways, just to have multiple areas where you can learn about it. So, let's have a look. Okay, so since this is in a non-working mode, because there's no blade attached, I'm going to have to go through a color change. So for color change, you hold down the auxiliary and press the power, I believe. If I can... Yeah, there we go. I'm in the color change mode. I think it's just because there's no color change sound. So, that's red, white, a little more white. Oh, I pressed the button. Whoops. There we go. We're getting to purple, pink, more purple, blue, turquoise, cyan, green, yellow. Sorry about all the clanging, that's the triangle ring here. Orange, and then back to red. So yeah, that's how it looks with all the different colors. Hopefully you got a good look at that. I'll put it back on white. There we go. That's pretty much the same as it was. In any case, that's a look at what the crystal chamber looks like. Again, if there's anything else that you need to know about this lightsaber, I'll have it in the description, or I'll email it to you, whatever it may be. If you have any questions, just let me know. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed checking out this lightsaber. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go over the wiring of this lightsaber real quick. So, the main blade is going to be on data 1. We have the top crystal pixel, it's data 3. The bottom crystal pixel is data 2. The control box arrows are connected together, so they're running off a single data line, which is data 4. And then in the config file, these guys are running as sub-blades. You'll be able to check at the very bottom with the blade config section which one is which. I have them labeled. I have everything in the config file labeled, so you'll know what's the main blade, what's the crystal, top crystal, bottom crystal, which arrows they are, the red or green ones. I have this set up just to be the cave sequence from Return of the Jedi. So yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit with customizing it. If you have any questions, just let me know. And that brings us to the end of this lightsaber video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed checking out what I did to this MHS custom lightsaber. Hope you got to enjoy how cool this is. I rarely ever get to do fully custom builds. So yeah, if you want to see more videos like this, feel free to like and subscribe, and if you want to commission a lightsaber from me, feel free to contact me on Instagram or through my website, averycastillo.com. Oh, and the last thing I should say before I end off this video, to the customer who commissioned this from me, if you ever have any questions, feel free to contact me. I will have all the information about the wiring and whatnot down in the description, as well as all the customization things and everything important I think you should know about it is going to be in the description. Anyways, thank you so much for trusting me with your lightsaber. It was a blast to make, and I think it came out really, really well. Hope you like it, and you'll have it in your hands soon. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and look forward to the future videos.